Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. Second hour, kick it off right now on this TGIF, this Friday morning of March 27th. Thanks for hanging out with us. Talking some baseball with the Brewers, picking up an opening day win yesterday. We'll get back to some more Brewers baseball. What impressed you the most yesterday, though? Was it the pitching with 20 Ks, with Bizarowski, with 11 Ks? Was it the offense with 14 runs, 10 walks as well, 12 hits for that Brewers offense? If you had to pick one, which one maybe impressed you the most? All right, you can hit us up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hang out with the guys, with the crew at Section 105 on our YouTube chat. We kick off this hour, like we normally do every Friday morning, catching up with our good doc, Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. First off, I'm not sure how your bracket's doing, Austin, but your Longhorns nearly pulled it off last night against Purdue. That was a close one.
They were playing really well, shooting really well. Obviously, Purdue had to cheat on that last play to win, but you know.
I love it. Did you fill out a bracket this year?
You know what? I do every single year. In fact, we do usually the family, and I do one at work. This year, just chasing around between like my kids' team going to state and work being busy. I did not. So this is like the first year, and I'd say a long time I haven't. So it makes it. I will say it definitely makes it a lot less appealing to follow every game because you have your teams that you follow, but if you fill out a bracket, you immediately every game have someone you're rooting for. So. I mean, I think that's one of the big reasons March Madness is so popular because people have a vested interest in every game, whether they really should or not. So, embarrassingly, I do not have a bracket filled out.
Sometimes that's least stressful, too, right? You know, a little bit that way, too.
True.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into it. Yesterday, the big news before the game was Jackson Chourio being placed on the injured list with what they're calling a hairline fracture. Now, I had read it was at the base of his middle finger on his left hand, but he had suffered it in a hit-by-pitch on March 4th in the World Baseball Classic, continued to play, and then when he returned to the Brewers, he continued to play, but said the other day on a check swing, he kind of felt it, and they did some imaging, and through an MRI is what they found was a hairline fracture. You know, I know when he first got hit by the pitch, there was the reports that the Brewers training staff was talking with Team Venezuela's training staff, I guess I'm assuming to kind of factor or figure out how serious it was. Was there anything, major or anything like that? When you hear MRI, though, with bones, does that maybe kind of give an impression that it didn't show up on the X-ray, or do you think they did an X-ray?
Well, absolutely. They start with an X-ray. Whenever you have an injury like that, you're going to start with the plain film X-ray. And clearly that was negative, right? So at that point, they said it was probably just a contusion to the hand. And then when they picked it up on MRI, I mean, I will say MRIs are good at picking up, we use the term occult fracture. So basically a fracture you can't see in X-ray, it can sometimes be shown on MRI because there's a bunch of bony edema. It does get to be semantic sometimes, whether you're saying, okay, is this a bad bone contusion? Is this a fracture? Because sometimes the MRI will just show a bunch of edema. And it's really hard to say whether it's a fracture or not. And the fact he's only going to go in the DL, it looks like, for a short period, this may be kind of in that gray zone. Either way, if the fracture is so mild that you only see it on an MRI, especially in a finger like this, I'm guessing he's going to be going pretty quickly. Certainly the risk of long-term issues is negligible. So he may be playing with that thing buddy tape for a little bit and should be able to come back pretty darn quickly. So I don't expect this to be a long-term issue. I don't expect this to have really, much impact on the season. Maybe just these first handful of games. So, but yeah, nothing too serious.
And before we found out more, I know last year he was a guy too that suffered those hamstring injuries and such, but he would continue to play and push it. And part of me was wondering, is that something that, as a player and a younger player who's only 22 that maybe didn't kind of be fully truthful about maybe how much the pain was bothering him and such, and kind of, I know that's kind of pure speculation and such, but when it comes to injuries like that, how much as team doctors and orthopedic people do you rely on the athlete being honest with you with a lot of those injuries?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. That is a challenge. I mean, there's guys who just want to get back out there no matter what. And so sometimes you have to be the one pulling the reins back. And so, some things are objective, right? Like you have an x-ray, you see a broken bone. It's like, all right, I see that. But there's a lot of things where the athlete's giving you the complaints. And that's what, I mean, it's a little bit of a tangent, but that's why concussions are so challenging to treat. There's not a great imaging tool. There's not a great diagnostic test that we can run and say, aha, you have this, or this. So a lot of it is reliant on self-reported symptoms. And if the athlete doesn't want to have symptoms, they'll say they don't have symptoms. And it makes it a big issue. So again, some things can be objective. You tear your ACL, you have an MRI, it shows that right there, boom, cards are on the table. But for certain injuries or things that are like a soft tissue based problem, like a hamstring or a groin or calf, et cetera, sometimes, especially, these young guys who are really trying to make a roster or keep their spot, they're like, I don't want to give this up. I'm going to try to play through that. And sometimes it's their own detriment, but there are certain things that people can try to push through. But yeah, of course it is speculation, but a guy like that who's clearly come up and been a rising star, he may be a guy who says, hey, I'm going to ride this as long as I can because I'm the hot ticket right now. So maybe he's trying to push through things that other people may not.
Let's move to basketball. Moses Moody for the Warriors. Now, I saw some pictures with the AI world. I don't know if they were legit and 100%, but if they were, it's kind of disgusting with his knee. But he's got a torn PCL. He landed awkwardly in a transition dunk and such. So non-contact PCL injury. How serious of a knee injury is this for him to attempt to come back from?
So it was, I thought they said it was a patellar tendon rupture, didn't they? Or was it PCL?
You're right. Patellar tendon. I'm sorry. I saw the P and I probably assumed the PCL. So yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I was going to say, I was like, the articles I read were talking about the patellar tendon. Because I mean, that's what you see. Mm-hmm. So when you see that image, and I've seen that image as well.
So it could be real, that tendon, image?
Oh yeah, that is probably real.
Oh
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it is. It looks pretty gruesome. So a quick anatomy review: the patellar tendon is what connects the patella, aka the kneecap, to the tibia. And so when you rupture that, now the quadriceps says pull that's unopposed. So it'll pull the kneecap up and basically kind of sucks in the tissue, so you can see a palpable defect. So if you're a reasonably fit person and you don't have a lot of fat tissue over the knee, you can see that obviously. So when people tear that, generally, if they come into the ER clinic, you can see across the room like you have a torn patellar tendon. Conversely, you can tear it on the top side, the quad, but in this case, it was the patella. And so, yeah, it is a pretty disgusting looking injury. I mean, just because it has that dramatic appearance to it because the patella retracts up. Long-term prognosis, I mean, truthfully, we're able to sew those back together and they heal a high percentage of the time, but people often do lose a bit of explosion to that leg. And obviously NBA players rely on that to be explosive. So do I think this is going to potentially be career altering? I do. Could he come back from it? He could. But it's just one that, because generally speaking, it's not like a clean rip. It's usually kind of like these two mop ends. So when we sew it back together, like the tension may not be exactly right, or when it heals, it may stretch out a little bit, and that changes the biomechanics of the knee. It just isn't a great injury to have. Now, sometimes it is a clean rupture off one side or the other, but generally it's not. It tears in the middle usually, and that's just not a great injury. So again, do I expect him to be able to walk again? Of course. Do I think he'll be able to play basketball again? Probably. Do I think he's going to lose a little bit of a step? That's also probably true.
Staying with the NBA, Cade Cunningham, the young star for the Detroit Pistons, he's been out because of a collapsed lung. I guess from an injury, with an injury like that, Austin, is that, maybe, did he get hit in the chest and something like that? Like how does an NBA player or an athlete suffer a collapsed lung? What are some of the possibilities?
Yeah. So, there's several different reasons you can have a collapsed lung. The most common one by far is severe trauma to the chest. So people get in a car accident, we use the term pneumothorax, but that's a collapsed lung. So that can either be due to just straight blunt force trauma to the lung, and it basically ruptures a portion of it, and the air leaks out. And you basically because you have a pleural cavity, which is basically where your lung lives, and then you have the lung itself. And when air gets between those two in that space, that's what a collapsed lung is, or a pneumothorax. So trauma, broken ribs will sometimes do it, where the rib cracks and then basically the edge of the rib will either puncture it, or it's actually just, again, the trauma just punching through. It's kind of like, you break an egg by you can hit the carton. You don't necessarily break the carton, but it breaks the egg inside. Same concept. There are rare things, like TJ Watt, when he was getting some needling done. You can have things like that. So we use the term iatrogenic. That basically means the doctor did it. That happened to Tyrod Taylor too when he was with the I think the Chargers. Yeah, same thing. They were trying to inject it. So that's a atypical one. I don't believe he was getting any procedures done, or at least that I heard. So it's more likely going to be some type of trauma. There are patients who they're called blebs. It's a funny word, bleb. So it's basically like a little pocket of kind of weak lining on the lung. And sometimes they can just spontaneously rupture, and people can get a spontaneous pneumothorax. And so if he didn't have any trauma, because I don't remember seeing any description of that. So it just sounds like they're just going, oh, by the way, he's got a dropped lung. He may have that. So just a bleb, it ruptures, they get a pneumothorax. Usually those are pretty small. Often you don't even have to put in a chest tube, because that's the normal treatment of it, is you basically put a tube and that goes between the lung and that pleural lining, and it evacuates the air. Then you wait till the lung heals itself, and you pull the tube out. A lot of times for these little ones, which is maybe what he has, you don't even have to do that. You just wait for the air to resorb, and then the lung heals itself. But you just have to protect the lungs, so that's why they're out for a bit. So I honestly haven't seen the mechanism of his, so I don't know if he did take a hit, or if there was any trauma, or if this is more likely, again, just a spontaneous bleb that ruptured. But it's hard to say for sure unless I had more information.
Then Giannis, one of the most talked about injuries right now, because it's about tanking and all that stuff. And Giannis has gone through a lot of injuries here this year, but the latest one is being diagnosed as a hyperextended left knee and a bone bruise. And I know we've talked a lot about bone bruise. This sounds awkwardly similar to the knee injury he suffered in the playoffs when they won the championship, when that knee injury looked really, really, really bad. Would this be kind of the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, basically the same mechanism. That picture was, first of all, it was in the playoffs, and so everyone was watching that game. And when you saw it, it really, I think the camera just had a perfect angle of it, and you just saw the hyperextension. I thought he had a serious knee injury, truthfully. And for him to bounce back that quickly was impressive. So this is going to be along that same line, knee. Usually it's going to be landing awkwardly, and then the knee just hyperextends a little bit, and a lot of force goes through it. And then often what happens is you do get an impact between the tibia and the front of the femur, and so that'll cause a bone bruise. We've touched on bone bruises in the past. They sound like such a benign little thing, but they can be really a very difficult injury to play through. People will get effusions. They can sometimes have a limp, very hard time pushing off. So even though bone contusion or bone bruise sounds like such a mild thing, it can really be debilitating for an athlete. So I think, especially when you're talking about professional athletes who are pushing their bodies to that top 0.5% of what athletes can do, you have an injury like that, it can certainly be detrimental. The good news is it sounds like there was no structural injury, because bone contusions, 99% of the time, they heal without any problem. It can take a while. So a bone bruise, if it's mild, could be a week or two. A severe bone bruise, sometimes it can be a couple months. And you're correct. It is a challenge, because now there's all this discussion of like, is he out? Is it related to, off-season changes? Is it trying to tank? There's all sorts of things swirling around this one. And back to our first discussion today is, it's a self-reported thing. A bone bruise, yes, you can monitor it with an MRI. They won't. They'll just say, how does it feel? And so this is going to be a self-reported return. And not to imply he's lying, but the athlete tells you, how's it feeling? It's feeling good. All right, let's play. Or no, it's not feeling well. Okay, we got to keep sitting. So there's an element to that.
Oh man, and then I don't know if you heard Steve Kerr like a couple weeks ago kind of say, pushing to play fewer games in the NBA season, which I was like, dude, you played in an era where there was 82 games. You did play, so it was kind of like that kind of surprised me a little bit too, to hear Steve Kerr, of all people, kind of mentioned that.
It was, yeah. I saw that line that he had, and I mean, I think it is challenging. I mean, I think when you look at it, I mean, load management is a very negative term people use. I mean, most people when they say it, they're not saying it in a good way, right? You're not complimenting the NBA for doing that. I mean, when you have people who spend money on a ticket expecting to see superstar play and they show up and the superstar's not playing, people are upset about that. Understandably, right? A lot of people, it's a lot of money to spend to go to an NBA game. And so if you buy that as a present for your kid and then their favorite player's not playing, that's a very disappointing moment. I think when we were kids, I mean, if you're going to watch the Bulls, you're going to see Jordan, you're going to see Pippen. They're playing, right? So it is very different. I think that no matter what happens, though, I mean, you're going to have some element of injury and load management, so that won't make it go away. But, guys are bigger, faster, stronger. They're putting more stress on their body. They're pushing themselves to the limit. So is there an element to that? I don't know. You hear it, and I can see it going both ways. Obviously, it seems like the NFL is going the opposite direction. They're trying to add more games every year, right? They want to expand and do more. Whereas it looks like some of these other leagues are talking about maybe retracting some games, but that's how they get their revenue. So I'm sure the owners aren't super thrilled with that idea to cut back on games because both attendance and then TV, ads. So I don't know. I mean, I guess on one hand it makes some sense to try to limit that just to decrease injury and overuse things, but like what do you do? I mean, are you going to cut it back one game? That won't make a difference. Cut it back 10 or 20. Right. Now that radically changes the season. So I don't know. I don't see it happening, I guess.
I don't either, man. I don't either. All right. He's Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine inside the training room. As always, we appreciate it. Great stuff, Austin. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch up with you again next time, bud.
Absolutely. You take care.
You got it. There you go. Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Let's take a quick break, and we'll unlock the door and let Brandon in. He's coming up after these quick words. Our good friend Nick chiming in on the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, saying the Bucks, we all need to shut it down for the year. If the Greek Freak plays, enjoy watching him because that'll be the last time you see him in a Bucks uniform. Shout out to the Big Ten teams staying tough. Looking forward to watching both Michigan schools tonight, a little early, but still possible to get an all Big Ten Final Four. And when was the last time we could have said that? And he also says just now, I got to make sure, B unit. He's watching you right
Unit.
But that is the B-U. I'm going to call you that now.
Unit.
B-Unit.
I mean, I've been called worse, so.
B-Unit. G-Unit.
Gotta be
B-Unit. I'll see if I can get our voice guy to maybe record one and do that for you. So, how you doing, man?
I still don't have an intro.
I don't have any hotkeys yet. I got to get... I know, but, part of me is... I honestly forget about it all the time. So that's where I'm at.
It's not high on your priority list.
No. But did you have a little victory scotch yesterday? Victory toast? Come on.
I don't like scotch.
Scotch.
I'm not manly enough for scotch.
Apparently not.
No.
So, but
I'll do a blackberry brandy toast.
Oh, we don't need to do that for 2 Fridays in a row.
No, we don't.
Did you forget we did that last Friday?
I forgot just because, I mean, not for other reasons. I just forgot because it just slipped my mind.
Yeah.
But
yeah. But no, I mean, can't ask for a better opening day, right? 14-2.
Yeah.
Miz, 11 Ks, 20 Ks overall as a team.
Right.
Salvatore leading the team, tied with the lead in home runs now. I mean, watch out, baby.
He's on pace for 162 home runs.
I know. And honestly,
which would be an NBA or an MLB record. It'd be an
NBA record too.
Yeah. No NBA player has ever hit that many.
Over under 161.5 for Sal Frelick to hit home runs. Hit the over.
I'm going to push.
But no, I mean, it was a fun game last night.
Right, yeah. And it was, actually, I was going to look into it, and then I never did. But I was like, it's been rare. I'm trying to think of the last time the Brewers have just comfortably won a season opener.
Yeah.
Because it seems, they've won a good amount of them, but it always seems like they're close. Or, we had last year, which actually the opener last year wasn't bad. It was the rest of the series. But, like you said, I mean, it was kind of, in many ways, the best case scenario once get beyond the Jackson Chourio announcement. But,
right.
But still, I mean, I think at the start of it, if you said, hey, Mizrowski's going to go 5 innings, give up a run, you feel pretty good about that. And then you kind of see the manner in which it happened where, gives up the home run to the first batter of the game. And then, honestly, just kind of felt like he got a little bit better as the game went on. And being able to get through 5 is a good thing just because, you want to be able to get that win on opening day and, bullpen pitching well behind him. And, the bat's coming out. And, I mean, looking like, the team did a lot of last year where there was some power mixed in, but just, relentless.
Yes.
One of the words that, Pat Murphy likes to use a lot. Just, top to bottom. I think everyone but Garrett Mitchell had hit, and Garrett Mitchell had, did a couple things that helped, produce runs. So, everyone, was productive. 10
walks, too,
right.
from the ball club.
When you get into that point where you're getting, some of your reserve guys in there, too, and they're able to, get out there on opening day, that's a good thing, too.
I think Sanchez was the only one who probably didn't get an AB, which
right.
Which
was a little surprising, but, I mean, it's opening day. I'm sure William Contreras wasn't too keen on coming out, so.
Right.
He wanted to showcase his new hair for everybody.
That surprised me.
It's interesting. Hey, if he hits a 3-run double every day with it, you're going to get no complaints from me.
Painting that third base line and doing that too. So no question about it. But you look at and you talk about Miz and kind of settling down. And I know in his post game stuff, he talked a lot about Contreras and Bill. But then you look at and I'm guilty of this too. When we talked about the younger pitchers this year and such, and we talk about how important that Contreras is going to be for that. But man, it sure seemed like he kind of settled out after Chris Hook went out there too and chatted with him a little bit, and maybe he dialed it back. Just it's for a pitcher who is throwing 100 miles an hour to dial it back to 97.
Yeah,
first
like
off.
it's okay to throw 97 and 98, and still get. I mean, he got a ton of swings and misses, which is encouraging.
Right, but I mean, you talk about how maybe crucial Chris Hook and Jim Henderson are to that younger pitching staff too, and how important they are for the team overall.
Right. I mean, I know that the Brewers recently extended Chris Hook, like whatever they're paying him. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. It's not enough.
Right.
But,
yeah.
You know that the pitching system they have set up at that organization is very, very good, and obviously there's a lot of things that go into it, but Chris Hook is a big part of it.
Right. So. That was encouraging to see. Mizrowski, the offense, obviously. I mean, there was just a lot to like from that game.
It was a fun opening day to have.
Yeah, I think if anybody was lucky enough to be there on opening day, I have
a friend that was, and he very much enjoyed it. He was there right away. When the lots opened, and it was and plus it probably was been maybe a little easier getting out of there just because with the way the score was, some people were able to head out a little early if they want to, and there's some construction going on around Milwaukee.
Weird construction going on around,
but right there. So I know that the Brewers have some stuff out that kind of help people, with this is where construction is. So this is kind of alternate routes you can take to get out. So if you're going to a game, maybe you're going tomorrow Sunday, or somewhere a little bit further down the line, keep an eye on that stuff too, because that'll help you make a more efficient commute.
Do you think, with going back to the Chourio news, where he's going to be missing a few weeks? That, Blake Perkins recalled and such, but more Bowers in left field. And I know Pat Murphy actually said yesterday, too, in one of that Yelich might be playing a little bit more left field, too.
Yeah, I think that's probably the game plan. And as far as Chourio goes, I mean, probably just something like, look, just going to try to nip it in the bud right now. If you miss 3 weeks in April, that's better than, kind of what we saw with William Contreras last year, where it lingered for a bit. In the second half of the year, he was more of his old self, but it took a while to kind of get to that point. So, with kind of what they have, I think right now they just have enough bodies they can throw at it and feel like you can get through it. But yeah, I think those two are probably the way to go. And you have between Perkins and Lockridge, you have some guys that you can bring in, defensive replacements late if you're winning a close game,
right?
Which you want to get the bat in the lineup, beat either one of those guys. But, I would say that more so, especially Bowers, just because, Yelich is going to be out there every day if he can. So, his spot is not in question. Whereas Bowers, he's someone that, kind of looking to parlay looking to parlay the hot spring, and look, had a couple hits yesterday, including a homer. So, he's going to be I think he's going to probably be the guy that gets that first opportunity just because he'll still probably be getting the majority of the DH spots. But, it's also a thing, too, where if you're facing a tough righty, maybe it's Bowers at first, just because, Andrew Vaughn historically has always been a little better against lefties and righties. But you have options, which is always a good thing.
It really, and we saw yesterday too, but it really looks like a left-handed dominant lineup now when you take Chourio out of there. Right? I mean, you don't think you can really, alternate because it seems like they got more left-handed bats in that lineup now.
Right. So, that's going to put some importance on, the righties that you do have in there. And then a guy like Luis Rengifo, who is because I don't think it'll be a hard platoon, but, Dan Hamilton's better historically against righties, and Rengifo's better against lefties, so it kind of makes sense to do that. But I still think you're going to see Rengifo out there against some right-handed pitching. But still, just with the way everything is kind of set up, that's just kind of how it works out.
Right.
And then you just have some other guys you can maybe go to late for a pinch hit or whatever if need be.
Yeah, because, would it be a little bit nervous, though, if they go up against a left-handed pitcher because the options might be limited with their right-hand bat? And I know they got a couple switch hitters like Blake Perkins and such.
Right.
And Hamilton, I think,
it'll just it'll just look a little bit different there. Where maybe that's a day where, I know they don't always like to do it, but maybe that's a day where you have either Gary Sanchez or William Contreras maybe DHing that day. Sometimes managers are a little leery about doing that in case you have to make a catcher switch and you can potentially lose the DH. But still, I think that's a possibility there. Probably be a day where maybe you'd see a Lockridge out there. But, Trang is going to be out there every day.
Yeah.
Even though Yelich's numbers last year against lefties weren't good, he's still someone that most days is going to be out there against lefties. You're going to still find a way, there's a couple guys that are lefties that are just going to be there every day. And then you kind of work around that.
Freelick, would you put
exactly,
in that?
I would too, yeah.
With the Chourio injury, too, it kind of threw the thought process of what that lineup was going to look like. But I had thought, when you looked at those exhibition games against the Reds, kind of gave the idea of how Murphy was probably going to put the first 4 or 5 hitters in that order, which Freelick was towards the bottom, but it was Chourio, Terang, and then was it Contreras and Yelich? So it was alternating a little bit there, but obviously this kind of changes it up a bit.
Yeah, everything's going to be a little bit different, but still, like I said in the past, my thing when it comes to lineup construction, as long as you have your better hitters near the top, I don't, the order itself doesn't necessarily matter to me. They've obviously shown that, they really like Terang in that spot. You and I have kind of talked, we kind of like Freelick as a leadoff hitter, but look, if you kind of take that approach to things and you're still hitting, 7th or wherever he's hitting, ultimately it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal because outside of the first inning, you're usually not having 1, 2, 3 come up to lead off an inning.
Right.
So if you can have some guys near the bottom of the lineup that are kind of table setters, well, then suddenly you have a couple on for the top of the lineup. Obviously, that's not a bad thing.
Right. Yeah. Be honest, how nervous were you when Ortiz strolled up to the plate with bases loaded?
I thought it was funny.
Right?
There's 3 things within the first few innings that happened. I'm like, okay, we're officially back to Brewers baseball. Obviously, the stranding, the leadoff double. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
And then there was that.
Miz home run, give up right away a little bit?
That one not so much. But, that was kind of a little bit different and encouraging because it just seemed like, in the past, maybe that would have been like a 3-inning start for him and it turned into a 5-inning start. And I think that's just maybe a little bit of growth there. But also the Brewers scoring their first run of the year off of 2 walks, a catcher's interference, and then a stoinker into right field. It's that's kind of how the Brewers did last year. So, and then the big 3-run triple later on. But I was just kind of okay, just settling in. But it's. That's Joey Ortiz going to be one of those. I don't think he's one of the best players on the team, but to me, he's one of the most interesting players on the team because that can be just such a pivot point for the team.
Right.
We've talked about this a lot throughout the spring, where if he's a little bit closer offensively to the player he was 2 years ago, while still, being the strong defender we know he is, suddenly that is a sneaky, probably 2 to 3 win player that is very valuable.
Right.
Because, in amongst the frustrations that many people, myself included, have with Joey Ortiz, I don't think anyone's ever really been frustrated by his defense.
No. And I think, even, we kind of talk about that one, obviously, but, his second hit going to Oppo.
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly what you want to see. If he's doing that, he wasn't doing that last year.
Right.
If he's doing, maybe it's the beard.
Maybe
but
it is.
But if he's doing that this year, he's going to have a very good year.
Right. Let's talk some more Brewers baseball, but we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these few words. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Brandon and I are going to make, even though we got one game in, but we're going to make a bunch of Brewers predictions and such. Kind of, we started this last year, was it, or was it the year before?
I mean, I've done it for a few years on the show here, but yeah.
Okay.
But we have some Brewer stuff and then some baseball stuff as well. So
right. Yep. So that'll be coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Iceman on YouTube in the section 105. Bourbon Superior Scotch, but are you a lowland or highland Scotch guy? Based off the ones that are in the man cave, I lean more towards highland. That's probably where I would go.
Fancy. So. I have no idea.
As you're sipping something over there. Something on the rocks.
Agua on the rocks.
Agua on the rocks.
This is where I'm going to have I can be the water boy. I'll have a scotch and water. Hold the scotch.
Yep. 7 a.m. Want a beer?
Nope. No, I don't.
All right. We got to play a little catch up here, so we will have another break here coming up here, too. We will do a little local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center just past 8 o'clock, right after we do some cream of the crop. But we're kind of in that transition phase.
Right,
we do have some softball games. I know there was a doubleheader yesterday.
Yeah, we had some softball games get going. We've had some indoor track meets this week. And but really, I mean, next week you've got first day of golf, which, hey, looking outside, golfers might get a little work in here right away. Nothing wrong with that. You got golf getting going, and I think boys tennis too. And then I think after that, all the spring high school sports will be underway, at the very least with practice. So,
we got Surveyor Sam with his trivia questions for us, which I'll throw you your pen. I had to borrow the other day. Ready? Yep. Hook shot. By the way, how are the beans, Surveyor? Well, that's kind of an inside thing. I don't know if he wants me to say it, but I'll just say how's the recovery going? He's what?
It's my hand turkey.
Okay. Do you need another paper?
No, I've still got some room. I'm going to use this paper as much as I can.
Brandon, since 2000, can you name the 10 highest Vikings drafted in the first round and what position they were drafted in?
Okay.
I got to come up with the last 10 third-round picks.
I honestly, I thought the pick or the trivia question was going to be like something to do with like Brewers opening day starters.
I would love to know if you can do the first baseman one because I know we've talked about that too.
I could go back, because that changed now with Rowdy Tellez those 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I could probably go back to because Fielder would have been 10-11. I could probably do that.
Matt Gamble then?
Yeah, I mean because I could do this. I think.
You want to do it right now?
I could.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go.
Let me see if I can bring it up here.
Yeah.
Brewers starting opening day first base.
Yeah, so we go back because the thing for more than a decade was the Brewers have never had the same first baseman start in back-to-back opening days.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so what year do we want to start this in?
Well, because if we start in 2010-11, Fielder went back-to-back.
Yep. Okay.
So
I got it.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so the 2012 would have been Matt Gamble.
Yep.
2013 would have been. Was it Alex Gonzalez?
Bingo! I was wondering.
Because that was the dumb year where they just played two shortstops. 2014, Lyle Overbay?
Yeah.
2015, Chris Carter.
Nope.
Ooh. Was he the next year?
Yes.
Okay. So who would have been in between there?
If you don't get it, I think you're going to be mad.
Oh, I'm sure I will be. Adam Lind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Lind was 15. So Carter was 16.
Yep.
Thames was 17.
Yep.
Was Jesus Aguilar 18?
Nope.
Oh, Braun was 18.
Yep.
Aguilar was 19.
Yep.
20 was Justin Smoke.
Yep.
21.
The last one, because then you'll know the next.
Yeah, because Tellez was the next two after that.
Yep.
21. Because someone struggled, then Tellez took over for him. It wasn't Jed Jericho because that was 2020. Oh, Kiss and Hero.
Yeah, look
Yep.
at that.
Yep.
Nice
That was the
work.
year they played the Twins. Yep.
Yeah.
And then it would have been Tellez 22, Tellez 23, and then 24.
Come on, you know this one.
I'm sure I do.
24 and 25.
Yeah, 24 and 20. Yeah. So the last couple years, opening day first baseman. Why am I blanking on it?
I don't know.
Should have quit while I was ahead.
You should have. Do you give up?
Yeah, for the interest of time, let's do it.
Reese.
Oh, Reese Hoskins. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But still, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
That's nice work. Nice work. Can you name the first baseman before Prince Fielder first started?
Okay. Was it Overbay?
Yeah.
It could have been like 05?
Yep, 05 and 04.
Yeah, because I think Fielder got called up during
and then
the 05 season.
03, 02, 01 was?
Richie Saxon.
Yep. Oh, do you know 2000?
2000. Before set. Ooh.
If you get this, I'll be impressed.
2000 first baseman. The first baseman before Richie Saxon. John Jaha was gone already. Plus, I think he was more DH. In the interest of time, I'll just say no.
Kevin Barker.
Oh yeah, I would never got that. I would never got Kevin.
1999 was Sean Barry.
Sean Barry, yep.
And then it was John Jaha.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I would have. Okay. Yeah.
Nice work. I'm impressed. Nice work. So, okay. Let's take a break. I've got your list of your Vikings players.
Well, yeah,
I got to think about my 10 third rounders.
Jeez.
So it would be 2015.
Yeah, so since 2000 for me, right?
Since 2000, can you name the 10 highest Vikings drafted in the first round and what position they were drafted in? So, all right, we'll take a quick break and we'll wrap up the second hour coming up after these quick words. So I'm glad Surveyor can I say that part, Surveyor? I don't know if I can, if you're going to let me, but wait for you to chime in on that. But so I'm glad he gave me a couple hints because I was thinking about this and I reread it. It's not just the last 10 years. It's the last 10 picks of third round picks because there could be multiple picks in the third round. So I'm glad thank you for that clarification because yeah. All right. Do you want to do yours quick?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I do. I think I've got it.
I'll just know I'm not going to go in order in mine.
Oh, neither am I.
Yeah.
Neither am I. But I'm pretty sure I know the absolute highest one, which would have been Ryan Khalil.
Ryan or Matt?
Matt Khalil. Ryan was his brother. Yeah. Ryan. Yeah. I wish it was Ryan. Matt Khalil, left tackle.
Yep.
Christian Ponder, quarterback.
Yes. Sorry, I did see him right away.
Okay. Anthony Barr, linebacker.
I thought, yes. I don't know why it's hard for me to find these guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
JJ McCarthy,
Yes.
quarterback. Troy Williamson, wide receiver.
Yes.
I was going to say, he was like a 7th overall pick. He was, unfortunately, he was one of the highest. So you're freaking me out on every one of these.
I don't know why I'm just, there's a lot of Surveyor really went detail. I think that's why it's, okay.
Adrian Peterson.
Yes.
Bryant McKinney, left tackle.
Yes.
Kevin Williams,
Yes.
defensive tackle. So there's 2 left. And these are 2 that I was a little unsure about. But in the interest of time, I will say Laquan Treadwell.
No.
Okay, it was before that then. So then I also think Dallas Turner.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 1 I'm missing.
I don't think you said 2 names though. There's a couple ties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so he has 11 because there's a couple ties. But
yeah, because there's 9 of them there's 9 of them I said that
Yep.
you said were right. So there's 1 I'm missing. Or look, there's a tie, so there's 2 I'm missing. So I mean, I guess I can I'm trying to think of a Hail Mary, if you will, but no, I'm not sure.
So tied with Turner was Chad Greenway.
Oh yeah.
And then the draft we were at, Trey Waynes.
Oh, Trey Waynes, yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, and those guys were does it say the pick number?
So Khalil was 4, McKinney was 7.
The ones at the back end.
Oh, Greenway was 17.
Okay.
Waynes was 11.
Oh, yeah, Wayne's, there's no excuse. I should have got that one. Greenway was in that, him and...
Dallas Turner were at 17.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
other than that, yeah, nice work, dude. So,
yeah, Treadwell was early. I forget, he was a little bit, he was like
20s, I think.
He was like early 20s. So.
Yeah. All right, so I'll try my third rounders here. So just the last 10. Doesn't have to be the last 10 years. Well, I'll just go to last year with Savion Williams. That was fresh in my mind. Then the year prior, so that would have been 2024. There were, Marshawn Lloyd was 1, and Tyron Hopper was also a third rounder. So I remember thinking that they just picked up a special teams player in the third round, and he could develop into a good one. Then Tucker Kraft was a third rounder. I'm trying to work backwards. Amari Rogers was a third rounder. Remember that one. I'm trying to go through draft years in my head here quick. I think Josiah DeGuara in the COVID draft was 1. Sean Ryan. I know I only got like a minute left here. Trying to go like, so who's the Jair? So 18. Oren Burks. I'm gonna run out of time here, so I'll just say I think I need 2 more. I'll say I know Vince Beagle wasn't, because I remember it opened up the last day, the drafting. He was like the first one, so that would have to be a 4th rounder. I'll go Jamon Moore and Royce Newman. I don't know. I'm out because there's a shot clock. So